Alright, hi everyone, it's me, Ollie, and today, and I'm going to make this film since I am the Dino Fury Blue Ranger or Deadweight Raft Blue Keeper. Now, I know some of you folks out there are going to wonder, what am I going to talk about? Alright, so on YouTube for some time, there was a new oversight. Well, it's probably old now, but at the time it was a new oversight that made it where you didn't have to be a mate if you wanted booster rings or showings on your films. But you wouldn't get nothing from them since you weren't a mate. Now, a lot of folks will probably ask, why is there no booster rings or showings on our films? Well, the smooth answer is about 7 years ago, could be more like 8 years ago, when we set this YouTube fairway up, we went on our settings and shifted no booster rings, no showings. Now, I know a lot of folks out there would be like, well, YouTube, they can always shift the oversight. Yeah, they did. But since I put on my films about 8 years ago, on my fairway about 8 years ago, went to my settings of my fairway about 8 years ago and shifted no booster rings, no showings. So even if YouTube shift the oversight, which they did, they still unlocked that setting that I said about 8 years ago. So if you don't want to see booster rings on your films and you're a non-mate, you can't do anything about anyone else's films. But you can go on your fairway, click on where it says show booster rings or showings. You shift that off, and that should be gone from at least your films, if you are seeing any booster rings or showings in your films. But you can't do anything about anyone else's films. Alright? Now I know that this had made a lot of mates mad. That these made a lot of folks mad. A lot of folks who were mates, and mates get galled from Google, through YouTube, through Google AdSense and whatever. I don't know about AdWords, that's more of a Webstead thing. And they felt this was wrong because they felt that non-mates were going to have booster rings and showings on their films or on whatever. They felt that was wrong because the non-mates wouldn't get no gout. Hey, first off, I'm happy not to get any gout from Alphabet or Google or YouTube, because then I'd be in the weird bind of the toll. And YouTube has shifted the oversight of how they handle income toll, either be land, Reich, earldom, or near, when it comes to YouTube mates. And also, why we said no to no booster rings or showings is that. And another thing, the YouTube mates are answerable for what films they put their booster rings and showings on. Now a non-mate wouldn't have that say, and they would just see booster rings and showings everywhere, unless they had shifted a setting off where it didn't show itself. Now you might think, oh, did we put some kind of block on? No, we didn't put no showing or booster ring lock on ours, no. But 8 years ago, we went on YouTube about 8 years ago when we started YouTube Fairway, and we went to where it said no showings, no booster rings. So that's why you're not going to see any of them here. And we never were a mate or anything like that. Now, this whole thing, before I come to the end of this film, one little other thing I want to say is that I am thankful that I am not a business mate or any kind, that I do not have to be held answerable for booster rings or showings or, boostering a showing oversight, or, mateship oversight, which those two oversights don't even have anything to do with me because I don't follow them because I'm not a mate. The only oversights that I stand to follow is the YouTube webstead oversight and the YouTube followership oversight. And that's it. I don't follow any other oversights. Well, there's ownership law, or whatever you want to call it, the YouTube ownership oversight. But beyond that, that's about it. You know? So, now someone might ask, if you're a nun mate and you're getting boosterings and showings on your films, then would you be held answerable? No, because you didn't put those there. You didn't stead them there. You didn't buy the time, or you didn't stead them there. So if a business didn't like the film that Google or YouTube put there, then Google and YouTube would be the ones answerable to that business for the boostering or the showing on the film that they didn't like. They're not going to get mad at you and say, how dare you put a film on a film about you talking about this or doing that. So at the end of the day, I was lucky that about 8 years ago that I said no to no showings or boosterings or whatever you want to call them. So that's why you won't see any hair. Because I was wise. And I shifted about 8 years ago that said no boosterings on my films. So there'll never be boostering on my films. And I know there's going to be, before I end this film, I know there's going to be someone out there saying, oh, well, YouTube could just put boosterings and showings on your films if they wanted to. Yeah, they could. But YouTube unlocked my setting, which I set about 8 years ago, and they didn't overlook it either. So if you folks don't want to see any boosterings or showings in your films, then you need to go on that setting and shift it off. And if you go on your setting on your YouTube fairway and you hit no showings, no boosterings, then you're not going to see any. You can't do anything about the showings on anyone else's fairway, but you can at least do something about the ones on your own. Now I'm Ollie, the Dino Fury, or Deadweight Ralph, Blue Ranger, or Blue Keeper. I'll see you later. And if you like the film that you watched, then watch the film we made yesterday over here, or follow us here at Power Rangers for Life. We'll see you later. Bye.